If you are go for launch, you're going to put billions of dollars of hardware into space. You want to make sure that all the probabilities are on your side. The weather's right, the conditions are optimal to launch that rocket. Same thing for investing. When you're putting your capital at work or you're going to take a trade, you want to make sure that probabilities are on your side. The best way to do that is to develop a rules-based systematic approach.
If you just go to the chart before and the chart after that, you're not seeing important things like support and resistance and potential breakout areas and things like that, because you just have too much going on.
Yep.
Again, we see this at Trade Ideas all the time where, we'll sit down with a client and they have 100 indicators on their chart and 50 different scans up. I don't know what I'm doing. I feel overwhelmed. And this we're super happy to bring to clients.
And the same, of course, can be said for technical analysis, Tyler. I mean, we see so many different concepts being used, but you're really trying to do the same thing to give yourself an intelligent framework within which to invest. And we know that arguably the most important skill we can learn is that of identifying trend, because if we can identify a trend, then we can profit on the majority of the move. But if we can trade in the direction of the trend, then we can make money during the majority of that move. So identifying trend becomes really, really important.
Okay, everyone, welcome back to the channel. A very special video today, something that's been a long time in the making. A new indicator for Trade Ideas called GoNoGo, and we have the creators here as well. I'm pumped for this. I've been using this behind the scenes. I haven't been able to show anyone, but I've been using it for some of my own trading strategies as well. As somebody who is a CMT, we talk a lot about trends and analysis when it comes to trends and strengths when it comes to trends, but there's a lot of traders out there that are new to trading and new to technical analysis and like to have a helping hand when it comes to trend identification. GoNoGo does a great job at this. It really simplifies a lot of the rules and expectations around trading, so you can focus on what it is that you're looking at. So I have today with me Alex and Tyler from GoNoGo, and again, we're going to talk today about what we're looking at in the system. We have built a new channel, new scans. I want to just say right off the bat, this is only the start. Now that we have the indicator in the system, we are going to meet periodically. We're going to talk markets. We're going to talk about new scans that we're adding. We're going to talk about everything. But today, we need to explain to you what GoNoGo is and what the origins of it was, and then how traders from beginners to advanced can implement this trading. So I'm going to start with you, Alex. Let's just do a little bit of history of who you are and how you've gotten into trading. What was kind of inspiration for starting to build an algorithm or an indicator like this?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having us, Mike. We've talked a lot over the years now, and I started off in institutional finance for a long time, and what really caught my attention was the brilliance of technical analysis, but that also led us to a problem when we start to research, we start to study, we start to find all of these indicators and tools that are valuable, and we start to believe in them, and we start to put them on our chart. And of course, we start to make a bit of a mess of our charts and sort of complicate our analysis. So what we wanted to do with GoNoGo charts was I wanted to create a way of including all of the information and all the value that I'd found so useful from my own studies, research, working with clients for all those years in the industry, but do it in a way that didn't complicate the chart. And it, Mike, it goes for all different people in the industry, whether I be working with somebody in sell-side research that had a very, very good disciplined technical process, but was struggling to explain it to their buy-side clients, whether it was somebody new to technical analysis, when I was doing trainings for people, the desire to really get your feet wet and get your sort of teeth sunk into technical analysis is strong, but then you end up confusing yourself with too much information. So no matter where you are in the world of technical analysis, we found that there is this problem of analysis paralysis. So that's what the GoNoGo chart's supposed to do. Take all of that information, put it into something that's easy to read using the power of data visualization, and give a user an understanding of the technical analysis that they're looking at.
And that simplicity aspect is, I think, something we're going to hammer home a lot here, and really what I like about it. At Trade Ideas, we offer a lot of different scanners and fundamentals and technicals and news events, momentum trading, and a lot of people sometimes get overwhelmed with that. So when we started chatting and when we were starting to build this in the system, I love the fact that, again, everything gets way more simple and streamlined so that it frees up the brain to focus on all of the other stuff that's important when it comes to trading, like the mental aspect and all of that. So, all right, Tyler, let's chat for a little bit. Now, me and Tyler have known each other for a very long time. We've been out
Very long time.
to many events together, just chatting about CMT related stuff. So, you know, I know a lot about you already, but our audience doesn't. So let's just fill in on what you've been doing over in the GoNoGo side of things. And then after that, we're going to go into a little presentation to get people started on what it is they're going to be looking at.
Yeah, like many in the technical analysis space, my path into finance was a bit circuitous. So I worked in management consulting out of college, and then had a great mentor and boss who said, "Tyler, you're not nearly as dumb as you look. You should really consider going to get an MBA so that people know they can take you seriously." And had a great education from the Kelley School of Business at Indiana University, entirely and explicitly about financial statement analysis and how you evaluate companies. And that is all incredibly important data to be looking at. Cash flows, looking at the quality of a company, what's on their balance sheet, and understanding the valuation relative to historical norms. And then I moved to New York City, and I met somebody named Ralph Acampora, and he explained to me that markets work in entirely different ways from companies, and that unless you're a giant private equity outfit, you're not buying the whole company. Certainly, the three of us on this call are not buying the whole company. We're buying shares of the stock, and there's a whole other data set that you have to understand and know how to work with in order to trade in the markets. And so he began telling me about price and volume and market breadth and things like open interest and many different indicators around momentum and strengths or exhaustions of trends. And I was fascinated, so hooked. Like, like everybody who's watching this, I'm sure, it's a very practical way to approach what's happening in markets. And so, with the CMT Association over the last almost 15 years, I've been teaching, talking about technical analysis with lots of different groups. And what I found with a lot of the big buy side money managers, they have a very sound financial statement analysis that they go through for every security they want to own in their portfolio. They are great fundamental investors, whether they're growth managers or value managers. They know what they're doing. However, they need the market to agree with them for their portfolios to go up, right? Everybody becomes a trend follower as soon as you buy a stock. And so trying to introduce them to the power and utility of technical analysis, for many of them, you start going through the CMT curriculum, the textbooks that I've got here on my desk. Every chapter is something. Oh, that's a great tool. I want that on my chart. Oh, that's another great way to think about things. I want that on my chart. And for those folks who have maybe 60 to 80% of their work week is spent on the fundamental side of the equation, technical analysis quickly becomes overwhelming. And so with GoNoGo charts and some of the first iterations that Alex started showing me, we've known each other over 15 years, the capturing the imagination of this mosaic of technical tools that you could use, but without clouding your vision on price action and what you need to focus on as a money manager, multiple securities in the portfolio, the macro backdrop. There's a lot more that goes into that role. You need technical analysis to be a simplified process. And then, of course, the pandemic hit. And we weren't just talking about the institutional community then. We realized that implementing an algorithm, but in a data visualization format so that everybody can see exactly what's happening inside the black box, was really powerful for new entrants to the markets, particularly around risk management. So it's been an incredible journey the last few years, being able to work with guys like you, Mike, and implement these tools on awesome platforms like Trade Ideas. It's a dream come true, and it feels like it's just part of who we are. Alex and I met teaching technical analysis and have done a lot of that work. And this is just the best way we can think about helping investors make more sensible trade decisions.
And I love that, especially with the multiple indicators, because every trader has been through that. They read something about RSI and they're like, well, let me slap that on the chart, or moving averages, or Bollinger Bands. There's just tons and tons out there. And we get the question all the time, like, what is the best indicator? And of course, there is no best or worst indicator, but something like, again, as we'll show with GoNoGo charts, that combines everything and does a weight of the evidence style approach, that to me makes way more sense. If everything is showing go, then it may be time to start looking in that direction. If everything's showing no go, then you stay away. And you need this alignment of indicators to occur in order to see what you're going to show on the chart. So all right, Tyler, let's hop into a presentation. Let's get into the nitty gritty and show people what they're going to be looking at here in trade ideas.
For sure. I think it helps to start with that name. Alex was looking at NASA shuttle launches, or a simple pass-fail system. If you are go for launch and you're going to put billions of dollars of hardware into space, you want to make sure that all the probabilities are on your side. The weather's right, the conditions are optimal to launch that rocket. So same thing for investing. When you're putting your capital at work, or you're going to take a trade, you want to make sure that probabilities are on your side. And the best way to do that is to develop a rules-based systematic approach. And I don't mean it all has to be coded in Python, but even the fully discretionary managers do things the same way every time, no matter what the conditions of the market are. They have a checklist. So Alex, why don't you walk us through what's going on in your household right now?
Mike, last time we spoke, I think we were talking about my son learning to drive. Well, I can happily say he passed his test first time. He didn't want to be that one kid that didn't, so he was very pleased. But when we were going through this process, you have way younger kids than I do, and it is scary. It is a strange feeling, just sort of knowing that off he goes. Tyler, you talk about NASA and launching billions of dollars worth of equipment into space. It kind of feels like that when you send him off down the road for the first time.
Kids are priceless.
I was going to say it's probably more nerve-wracking than that.
Yeah, just to school, up the road. But when you begin that process, you sit them down and you say, okay, listen, there's got to be some rules here. There's got to be a disciplined process. Let's have a checklist. And let's make sure that you're as safe as possible, because it's a scary world out there when you're learning to drive. So, obvious things: put your seatbelt on every time you get in the car, non-negotiable. Start the engine with your foot on the brake so you don't accidentally roll forward. Check your mirrors before you pull out into the road. Just make sure you signal so the people behind you know what's happening, and then engage your gears before you finally drive off. Right. So, if you can do that every single time, you will be hopefully slightly more safe than if you just sort of got in the car and pulled into oncoming traffic without going through that process. And the same, of course, can be said for technical analysis, Tyler. I mean, we see so many different concepts being used, but you're really trying to do the same thing to give yourself an intelligent framework within which to invest.
Mm-hmm. And that checklist, that rules-based approach, you develop that weight of the evidence, and it becomes muscle memory for people who've been doing this for a long time. But certainly for the uninitiated, or if people are looking at other forms of analysis along their investment decisions, it can be overwhelming. So we thought we'd put together just a very basic tutorial of how you might look at trend. And when you're establishing a trend and using that checklist approach, first thing you're going to do is pull up a chart, bars, candles, whatever you prefer. But we're looking at Apple on a daily basis. And just by eyeballing the chart, you can see that after those late April lows, it was observably moving from lower left to upper right before this recent incredible breakout. Now, through May and June, we can see that was a trend higher, a series of higher highs and higher lows. And we could draw a trend line under those. And that's classical technical analysis going back to Edwards and McGee in the 1930s, looking at pattern recognition and important trend lines. But we know that observing just with our eyeballs is a great way to be a Monday morning quarterback, and you can spot trends after they've already occurred. And it's not particularly systematic or rules-based. So Alex, let's talk about an indicator that people might use to spot those breakouts.
Yeah, and we know that it's, arguably the most important skill we can learn is that of identifying trend. Because if we can identify a trend, then we can profit on the majority of the move. That's what we're all trying to do as trend followers, not find the absolute low or the absolute top. But if we can trade in the direction of the trend, then we can make money during the majority of that move. So identifying trend becomes really, really important. And as you said, Tyler, the first way you might do it is just by eyeballing it, but that can be subjective. When does that really start? So the first thing we might do is try to automate that process of finding higher highs and higher lows, because that's really how we can be sure we're in a trend. If we're making a series of higher highs and higher lows, that's what defines a trend in the up direction. So with Donchian channels, that will automate that by looking back over a time period and saying, is the current price the high for that period? And if it is, then the line will move with that price. And so you can see there somewhere towards the 3/4 of the way through the chart, that's when that Donchian channel upper band moves higher for the first time. It had been moving down until then. And if you're interested in amazing technical analysis stories, check out the Turtle Traders.
Yeah.
Richard Dennis's experiment in the 80s. This was one of their primary entry tools for trading when he created that experiment and created the Turtle Traders that are still obviously successful and speak at our CMT events until the current time. So wonderful story there. But you wouldn't stop there, right? As you mentioned, Mike, earlier, that weight of the evidence approach is so important, and you start to put the evidence in your favor as you add valuable tool. You may go from Donchian channels to putting on a moving average, right? I mean, Mike, moving averages, we didn't even consider them in the industry technical analysis enough to identify a core technical analysis user, because everybody uses moving averages. They are that well used by our industry, and for good reason. If price is above a moving average, that's inherently bullish, because you're saying that price right now has traded higher than the average of its prices going back for the period that you're looking at. And what you get, though, is you see the price moving up and below the moving average. You can see some whipsaws there, because you're trying to identify when that price is breaking higher. So what a lot of people might do is throw on another moving average. One is good, two is better. And that allows us to use one of the most traditional trading systems that we know of, which is the moving average crossover.
Yeah.
And now we get a tool that allows us to smooth out that process and take decisions based on the interaction between those two moving averages. So when the short crosses above the long, as it does towards the right side, just a little bit after that Donchian channel high, that's telling us that prices in the short term over their average are moving higher than prices in the longer term. So that's also now adding weight to our opinion, or giving us some confidence that that new high we saw from Donchian channels is being confirmed now by our moving averages doing what we thought they would do as well. And you continue now to build your process. We can throw another really well used indicator onto the chart. We've got Bollinger Bands. John Bollinger, I've heard him speak several times, just a giant in our industry. And what he did was take the idea of looking at standard deviations around a mean of price. And my dad was a math professor. I didn't, unfortunately, follow in his footsteps, but understanding that a significant portion of a data set should be contained within two standard deviations, about 95% of the data, is really significant, because that's what should happen normally. Now, of course, financial data is not normally distributed, so it's not quite 95%. But if price trades outside of two standard deviations, that's really important for us to know. And again, when you see price breaking out of those bands to the upside or to the downside, we want to pay attention to that. Perhaps that's a big enough push for a new trend to begin in the direction of the break. And then you go on from there. Maybe, of course, you throw volume on the chart. I took some liberties with the colors there. I'm not sure if everybody liked the yellow and purple.
Yeah.
But volume as a confirmatory indicator has been around for the longest time. Charles Dow used to talk about volume being the first non-price confirmatory indicator. So if you see something happening in price, we like to think of volume as market participation. Does the market participate? Is it really involved in the move that you're seeing in price? And you can see, again, as price breaks above that moving average to the Donchian channel high, we see a nice strong volume bar. Perhaps there's heavy buying there. That's going to also be something that we factor into our consideration when we decide whether or not this is a new trend in the upward direction. And let's throw one more on there just for time's sake, but you're going to probably see an indicator in the lower panel. And in this case, we put the MACD on here, one of the most commonly used indicators that we have, and it has some elements of trend, it has some elements of momentum. It takes the difference this time between two moving averages, and these moving averages are exponential, which means they're slightly more sensitive to price movements. Mm-hmm. But you can throw an indicator like this on and say, okay, well, let me look for periods where, number one, traditionally we want to see when the MACD crosses above its signal, which is an average. But also, what about when the MACD crosses above zero, or the signal crosses above zero? That's telling us that prices are moving higher than they have done before. So we'll take a pause here. That's a lot of talking for me, but at some point to the right side of that chart now, we've got a lot of things telling us that we may be moving up. We may be seeing something happening to tell us that we're seeing a new trend in an upward direction.
Now, you can see how the mosaic is involving lots of different indicators that are looking at different things, right? Price relative to its historical average, spotting breakouts, a series of higher highs and lows. We can look at things like volatility breakouts. It's all good. And the folks like Gerald Appel and John Bollinger, I mean, these are the innovators and the titans in our industry who had truly artistic, visionary thoughts about how to slice and dice the message of the market in really innovative ways. However, this blue circle occupies a month of trading. And I'm guessing that the folks on Trade Ideas probably need to make a decision faster than a monthly time frame, right? Looking at a daily chart to decide over 4 weeks whether or not to take the trade becomes cumbersome. Do you wait for all of the checklists to be met? Do you, did you just suffer tremendous losses in Apple? Maybe your behavior towards Apple, your bias is that, oh man, Apple just destroyed me over the last few months. Our good friend Walter Deemer, past president of the CMT Association, said, when the time comes to buy, you won't want to. And that is the nature of being a contrarian investor, using technical analysis to spot opportunities when everybody else is running for the hills, or to spot risk when everybody else is euphoric, right? It works both ways. So the problem with technical analysis that we've found over these last 15 years is not that the indicators aren't helpful, useful, perfectly articulated. They are. But the mosaic approach, having a weight of the evidence perspective on markets or individual securities, requires too much clutter on the chart. It involves analysis paralysis, meaning in this example, and of course we only went through 5 simple indicators in this little lesson 6. What we've seen on people's charts are hundreds of different tools, and then price becomes this tiny obscured little panel at the top. Remember, our most important indicator of all is price action. That's how we get paid. What price did you buy it at? What price did you sell it at? So for us, that challenge of technical analysis and doing it in a professional, rigorous way with a robust checklist could be solved with an algorithmic approach of combining a lot of those tools, much more than we covered in the simple example there, but to use data visualization to our advantage. So instead of leaving the algorithm in a black box, what if we spit it back out onto a chart in a form of data visualization? And all we're looking at here is a very simplified color-coded bar chart. But the colors are telling us the direction and the strength of the trend of that security. So I'll walk you through real quick the colors that we're working with. We've got aqua and blue. So when we're in go conditions, when the shuttle should be launched because conditions are optimal, we have a strong form and a weak form of go trends. When we're in no-go conditions, we are in purple and pink bars. And I recognize that for a lot of our institutional clients, they're long short equity PMs, or for many that are on trade ideas, potentially there's an interest in playing to the short side, capturing trends to the downside. You can use GoNoGo charts in both directions. And then there's also that condition in the market that we all hate entirely, which is when The weight of the evidence is not suggesting either an upward or downward trajectory, but the market is range bound and uncertain. It's undecided from a trend perspective. And that's when you'll find those amber bars of neutrality. So we refer to go bars, no go bars, and go fish bars. Alex and I are enthralled with the life and work of Jesse Livermore, who is famously quoted as saying, in all markets, there's a time to go long, a time to go short, and a time that you should just go fishing. Meaning to sit on your hands, have some patience, don't overtrade. And so we'll see those appear often at times of transition between trend conditions.
See, and that really speaks to what we were talking about before with the simplicity of it, right? If you just go to the chart before and the chart after that kind of had a little bit of the same information on it, yeah, right here, you're not seeing important things like support and resistance and potential breakout areas and things like that because you just have too much going on. And
Yep.
again, we see this at Trade Ideas all the time where, we'll sit down with a client and they have, 100 indicators on their chart and 50 different scans up, and it's, I don't know what I'm doing, I feel overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
And this we're super happy to bring to clients because it's just gonna, here, put this on. I don't care why you like Apple, whether it's a scan that you found it on or a fundamental reason or long-term technicals or whatever. You can now wait until it becomes in a go trend and then look for your area to take a shot on it there, which is, again, it's just very, very elegant. And we know that a lot of the work with trading is mental work. It's, stop
Correct.
loss management. It's when do I take profits? It's
Mm-hmm.
dealing with emotions and things like that. So the more simplified you can make the decision process of when to buy and when to sell, the easier and the more time you have to say, I need to focus, I can focus on these other things when it comes to more of the mental game of trading and investing.
Yeah,
You make a great point, Mike. We had lots of CMT conferences, and in our podcast, Fill the Gap, we talk to money managers about their worst trade. And sometimes people are being really honest and they talk about a big loss. But oftentimes, the most interesting answer comes in the form of, yeah, I got involved in this security. It added, a 20% move higher or a 30% move higher, and I took profits, and it was great in the moment. And then it went on to be a multi-bagger, and I
Mm-hmm.
missed the other 300% of the move. So when we think about trend following, one of the hardest things to do is be patient with something that is working, right? And we know from the behavioral finance community, things like prospect theory by Kahneman and Tversky, that we experience a lot more pain in recognizing the loss, closing the losing position, than we experience joy in the gain. So this trade with Apple, like that's a pretty seductive rally. This is on a daily time frame. I'm sure for lots of folks, if you're looking intraday, if that's your time frame, the GoNoGo charts on other shorter periodicities, that would be a go trend on a 15-minute chart. But the point of whatever time frame you're executing in, if we're a daily trader, then we're not getting into that relief rally. Similarly,
Yeah.
we're not selling out right as Apple approached that 200 level because nobody knows what's on the right side of the chart. Nobody knows what the future holds. And so just by sticking with things that are in trend, you get to participate in this amazing parabolic move.
and I
Well,
think
that's
to
it.
your point, Mike, it's about using the. You said so many times that it's a mental thing, right? And I think that if you can just have a sense of the trend to be in the background for your trading decisions, that helps you already. So, like for example, if you're using opening range as an intraday trader, and you see it trade out of that opening range, is it trading out of that opening range, and has it become a go trend? And it sort of said, okay, we're in trend, and we're using whatever else we might want to use to inform our decision making. Even if it's just a peace of mind thing, like you said, you're interested in Apple for whatever reason, but don't just buy it until at least you've seen some reason that the technical environment is changing. So Apple's
Mhm.
falling, falling, falling. You want to buy it. You have your reasons. Wait till you see that change of trend. Wait till you see the go colors come in, and it gives you the peace of mind then to sort of believe in your reasons.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now let's hop over into the software here and let's show what we're what we have so far. And again, I want to reiterate to everyone that what you're seeing is just the beginning. We're planning on building out and expanding and doing more scans and more content together as well. So make sure you're staying tuned and make sure you're going back to the GoNoGo channel periodically, because you never know when something new may be arriving there. So step one, again, you can see that I'm on Trade Ideas, and we have the indicator enabled. So if you don't have the indicator enabled, make sure you just email in info@trade-ideas.com, and they'll make sure that the setup process and the cart and all that kind of stuff worked correctly. And then you'll be presented with this channel right here that has a series of scans that we built along with the indicator itself. So just like Tyler mentioned, I just picked up a random chart here. You can see if you're in a light blue, that's a weak go trend. A dark blue is a strong go trend. We have the orange, which is neutral, and then the pink and dark pink, which is the opposite of the go trend. Now, that's all well and good, and you can bring up, of course, any stock you want and analyze that. There was the Apple that Tyler was talking about earlier. You could see that, this will be written about, I think, in textbooks for technical analysis for ages to come. The very clean break of this area right here on high volume. We also have the ability to have all of our standard fundamental indicators that exist up here. So if you want to learn more about the company, that's on every single chart as well. The trading takes place, and I've got an example that I'll show you. Actually, just go to that now, where you can trade right off the charts. You can plug that into your Interactive Brokers, your E-Trade account. You can just click on the chart and have those trades sent for you. You can simulate trades as well if you're still in kind of the strategy building department. All of your normal Trade Ideas functionality works, and I'm going to go over how I'm using some of this with the traditional Trade Ideas functionality to come up with some cool strategies. But when I was talking to Tyler, the question that he got all the time after he would present this indicator is, okay, how do I find the ones that are going from this to that? It's one thing to say, I like Apple, so I'm going to sit back and I'm going to wait for Apple to trigger a go trend, and then I'm going to buy it. But, what if I want to rely a little bit more on the indicator and just say, hey, what happens? I want to find one that's turning go right now. I want to find one that's maybe pulling back right now. So we've built these scanners on the daily chart into the system, with intraday scans to come soon, and again, more things down the road. So I'm just going to quickly walk you through the channel, and we made it certainly nice and simple for you. So step one, right, there's your chart. You do all the chart stuff. That's where the magic happens with the indicators and all of that. And then we have two boxes of scans up here. So everything up here is going to be a bullish type scan that's looking for stocks that are entering a go phase or pulling back into a go phase, or strengthening in their go phase. And then the ones that exist down here, minus this one, because that's something I'm going to show you in a second, but all the stuff down here is going to be the opposite. So if you're looking to grab some shorts, add some short exposure to your portfolio, that's where you're going to go as well. So again, in the theme of keeping things nice and simple, that's what we've done as well. So I'm going to go through these long scans, but just know that the short scans are just a flip version of this. Step one is just new go charts. So stocks that were yesterday at least a neutral or a no-go and are now flipping into this go trend. This is going to be, I think, the bread and butter for a lot of people who are saying, okay, I want to find out what was neutral or was a no-go before and is now going into a go trend now. For example, I was actually looking at this one today. I'm looking to see if this closes in a go trend, because Uber, I was watching, this is, just to talk about combining technical analysis with GoNoGo as a reason to enter or exit the trade. For a longer term trade, I really like Uber. It's pulled back to this prior high. I think our buddy JC was talking all about this $60 level. You can see it was the high way back here, pulling back, but really no reason to get involved until potentially today, where now this is triggering a go trend. And again, you can just click through these. You'll see all of the different data pop up, how quick everything moves, showing things that are going into this go trend right here. Now, the next one is more for pullback traders. So these are looking for stocks that are in a go trend, but they have been pulling back a little bit. So if you're someone who not necessarily likes to chase highs and to chase new highs and to chase breakouts, you could take a look at this and say, okay, well, what I want is I want stocks that are in a pre-existing go trend, but they're putting in these light blue bars as opposed to the dark blue bars, showing me that yes, it's in a trend. It looks very strong, but we're a little bit off our highs, and we're looking for pullbacks here. So as I click through a lot of these, you'll notice the same type of thing. That was an alert I had. I want to reset that for VST, because if you look at the monthly chart in the bottom, you can see this thing is just a monster, this VST Corp. And anytime that these pullbacks resolved over the last year or so, they would have been great trades. So this is a nice, simple trading strategy. Personally, this is one of my favorites, where I wanna get that pullback. I want to reduce my risk a little bit. You can see all of that right there. Again, in go trends, pulling back, potentially next nice setups for a go higher. And then last but not least, this is for the people who want, again, the pullback, but are looking for confirmation. So if we click on this Zeta that I actually took this trade on right here, you could see that yesterday I found this in the GoNoGo pullback scan, or we just call it go pullback right up here, where it's in a nice strong trend. I look at the monthly chart, that's in a nice strong trend, and it pulls back. And then today it's turned into that strong go. So same with the charts that are looking for things going down, they'll be in that light pink, and then now they're in dark pink. So it's showing that there's a confirmation of, yes, this thing pulled back, and now it's entering that go phase. So if you're someone who likes the confirmation of a potential breakout, you can see TTD was pulling back here. I have this just support line drawn in. That held as this thing turned into a light go trend. And now today it's bouncing off that, and it's looking like it could be a strong go. So again, a great way just to not only use the indicator that we talked about that I already think is fantastic, but you're trying to figure out how to find things that work with that indicator to make sure that you're, not just having to go through thousands of charts a day to find the ones that are switching over. So very quickly, just go over some of the weekly or the week charts, the ones that are looking for no-go trends. But again, it's going to be the opposite of the same type of thing. So new no-goes, you can see MasterCard was orange yesterday and then pink today. So this has done a bearish engulfing kind of a candle, and it's turned into a no-go. If I'm looking for continuations into trends for the downside, if I'm long short, or if I'm just liking the scalp from both directions, I can take a look at that. And again, the other ones are the same, but opposite. IONQ, right? A little bit of a bounce if I'm looking to short into a pullback of a zone. So all of these scans update roughly every 30 seconds. So new information all the time. There are a couple things you can do with the scans if you want. You can turn them into tree maps. So if you want to see the stocks that are up and down the most from the open, you can check those out, and those will still hold that go no go trend. Now, combining this with other things in trade ideas, that to me is super, super interesting, because you're able to do, what we talked about. You're able to look at all of the time frames. If I go into an intraday chart, I actually sent something to, where was it? It was a couple days ago. I sent something to Tyler the other day. I think it was on this spike right here on GameStop, just showing that how hilarious this work. We're on a 5-minute chart now. This is for your intraday guys. GameStop all day. I don't know which tweet storm caused this one, or what that was, but in a nice go trend all day. And you were able just to stick with it if you said, okay, as soon as I see a no-go bar, I'm going to exit. And from $31 up to 60, this one doubled. And then in the pre-market the next day, there's your no-go bar, and just completely fell apart after that. So from institutions, they were talking about institutional managers using this, to meme stock traders, I really do think this will fit for everyone. Now, is there anything you guys want to add about the platform till I go into my actual trading strategy that I'm using with this, and am very excited to tell the people about?
No, go for it.
Yeah, dig right in.
Awesome. So anyone who's followed me for any length of time knows that I'm a bit of a Brian Shannon disciple. I love the AVWAP and a lot of the stuff that can do. And that's something else that we have in Trade Ideas, where you can look for anchored VWAP pullbacks. The problem with looking for pullbacks, it's very hard to determine when a pullback is too deep, right? If I just draw for a second, if I'm looking for a pullback and this is the initial move, how far of a pullback is acceptable until it's just, a blow off top or a trend reversal? I guess we could use this chart as well, right? I wouldn't define
Hmm.
these as pullback so much as crashes after pumps. If you can take any scan, and I can actually just show how you do this. So if you go into any part of Trade Ideas and grab any scan that you want, for me, I'm going to grab something like this anchored VWAP scan, and now I'm just going to go to daily chart, and I can start scanning with it, and it will apply. There's that VST that we had from earlier. It will also apply the GoNoGo indicator to it. So we have this purple line, which is the anchored VWAP from highs. You can see it's right from this scan right here. But because I have that indicator assigned, and I have paid for that the additional product, I now have GoNoGo on the chart along with anchored VWAP. So the combo that I've been doing is looking for stocks that are still in Go trends, pulling back to a major AVWAP, then using basic technical analysis to figure out when to get in, when is an acceptable bounce off of that anchored VWAP, and then again relying on the indicator to keep me in the trade. So just like I showed there with GameStop on something like, I think it was ZETA that I was talking about here earlier, my plan with this stock, now that I got this one from the fact that it was pulling into this anchored VWAP from before this major gap right here. I bought a little bit yesterday on this line right here. You could see as it broke out. Now my decision making is very simple. I have a stop loss under the AVWAP. If that triggers, it's a losing trade. It's time to move on to something else. But one thing that I really love GoNoGo for is now I'm just going to stay in it. My plan is the first non-go bar, so orange or pink, that
Hmm.
closes there. I'm going to put the stop at the low of that candle, and that will be my out. And the ability to combine things that the current Trade Ideas users, which is who I'm speaking to right now, already love within the software with this go no go indicator, I think really simplifies your trading. When I'm clicking through this tree map I have up here of my personal ETF watch list, I can see all of the different sectors and whether or not they are in go trends or no go trends, what's going on. It gives me a great overview of what's happening. And just to tease some of the things we're working on, we are working on color coded go no go maps that will change colors based off what trend is going on with these individual securities. Again, all kinds of cool stuff. I don't want to get too deep into it. So there is Go No Go, and there is Go No Go within Trade Ideas. Again, we very much appreciate you guys coming by and hanging out. I'm very excited for this product. We have a couple of these indicators, but this one I really think will help a lot of people out there. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me or Tyler or Alex. We'll put everyone's social in the description below and all that. And then I'm going to put them on the spot right here and now. You guys are going to come back periodically, right? Not just talk about the product, but we're going to talk markets, right?
Anytime you want, Mike. Anytime you want.
Because yeah,
uh,
if you go
yeah, go ahead.
to just if you go to the Go No Go website, there's also research there. So if you're interested in technical analysts applying this tool, you can check that out as well. And my plan is I'm going to pull these guys in and onto the channel periodically, and we're going to go through some charts using the indicator, and we're going to try to teach our user base on how to stay on the right side of the trend on using this indicator. So now that I've made them say that in public, that's something that will definitely make happen very, very soon.
Next time we should do it in your beautiful forest with some cold pops in hand, huh?
Well, hey, it's Canada, so you've got like 3 days until the snow until the snow come back to figure that out. So it'll be
Nice.
very beautiful for the next few minutes.
Awesome.
I'm getting ragged on sometimes. I'm taking a lot of phone calls outside, and I say, "Listen, I'm in Canada. If I can be outside, I'm going to be outside because I know
Yes.
there's a big clock ticking there." So
Both weeks of the year.
both
Absolutely.
both
Mike,
weeks.
I just have to say the implementation on Trade Ideas, and I'm sure the viewers know how hard you work to make the platform better and more useful every single day. But it's been a tremendous experience to work with you and the Trade Ideas team. I think the implementation is beautiful, and those scans, particularly in the way that we've constructed, how somebody might think about trading strategies using a trend following system. Really powerful. So thank you.
Appreciate
And I
that.
think that's what's exciting is being able to work with you, Mike, as a trader and an analyst to come up with the ways that are going to be the most helpful for users. And we'll, like you said, we'll continue to bring out those new scans and things as we go forward.
Yeah, and that's something that, just to toot Trade Ideas horn a little bit, that we really pride ourselves on, is that we are traders, right? We were built by traders and we're built for traders, and we're not a bunch of just devs sitting around. So we listen, we're big enough that a lot of people approach us and say, hey, can you put our indicator in the system? This indicator is amazing. I approached Tyler and said, I think it was we were doing, it was either an event or one of those online events. I can't remember, but I saw this thing and I said, this is going to solve a lot of problems for a lot of users. And just from someone who talks to a lot of traders and a lot of new traders, again, the struggle of, I've got 1,000 indicators. I don't know which one's the best. I don't know if my stock's in a trend. When do I get out? How long do I hold? And I just looked at this and I said, this could solve so many problems. If you're in the stock and you like the stock and it's a go trend, then stay in the stock. And then, when it's a
Yep.
no-go trend, get out of the stock. And again, I think traders spend way too much time on the analysis phase and not enough time on the recording of trades and the mental framework side of things.
Mhm.
So the more that we can offload that initial phase, then we can go right ahead. And everything we've built so far is for the daily chart, but again, there's intraday trades coming. Jamie, who's one of our traders here at Trade Ideas, I gave him an early copy couple months ago, and he's been banging on my door saying, when is this going to be out? I love it. And he is a scalper. He's a 1 minute chart, and
Whoa.
he's using it as the way to stay in a trade. And he's saying it's absolutely fantastic. I'm able to make more money when I'm right. I'm taking my scalps from my same Trade Idea scans I've known and loved for years, and now I'm able to hold on to that a little bit longer and make a little bit more money when I'm right. And for scalpers, a little bit goes a long way when you're making 20,
Yeah.
30 trades a day. So
Yeah.
um,
Big time.
yeah, this is a lot
Amazing.
of fun, and certainly a lot more fun to come. So, listen, any social medias to plug? Any where should they send people if they want to? Where should I send people if they want to know more about what's going on?
We've got a ton of free information on GoNoGoCharts.com.
Hmm.
Weekly market shows like everybody does, but also long form educational presentations. We've got a 6-part series. We publish research for our institutional subscribers. If that's helpful to get more of the macro picture, maybe not just looking at individual equities, but thinking about how rates and commodities and currency trades are impacting your equity environment. That's available right on their site. And then all the social media channels that anybody's on: StockTwits, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. Where
Jeez,
else do we have accounts?
so many of
Right?
them,
There's
right?
so many. There's so many.
Um, yeah, and
Go
it's
to the, yeah.
and if you're on the trade idea side, there's going to be trade ideas / go no go. You can check that out for more information there. If you're seeing this and you're inside the trade ideas application, then you should be able to see everything around you. If not, again, go to tradeaideas.com, hit up the support desk, and we'll get you guys helped out. So until next time, which again, I promised everyone that would be soon, I'll talk to you guys later.
Thanks so
Thank you,
much,
Mike.
Mike. Great to see you, buddy.